Hey there, music fans, and today is a very special day. 79 years ago today, probably the greatest guitarist of all time was born, Hank B. Marvin. Yeah, the greatest guitarist in my opinion. Um, Definitely the most influential. He's influenced the likes of Jeff Beck and Gary Moore and countless musicians. Eric Clapton, George Harrison all pay tribute to Hank Marvin has been a big influence on them. So yeah, Hank doesn't usually celebrate birthdays because he's a Jehovah's Witness, as a lot of Shadows fans will know, and so he doesn't celebrate birthdays and he doesn't celebrate Christmas or anything like that. But I just had to mark the day. So today I'm going to give you my top 10 favorite Hank Marvin solo albums. That's without the Shadows, just his solo albums I'm going to do today. So at number 10, I have Into the Light, which I absolutely love this album. There's a couple of really strong tracks on it. There's a duet with Brian May. He did an absolute fantastic version of We Are the Champions, which they released as a single. Probably my favourite track on this album is Pipeline, which is another kind of duet. If you call them duets, he's it features Dwayne Eddy, guitar legend, another guitar legend, Dwayne Eddy on guitar, and it's just an absolute fantastic track. Hank and Dwayne playing together. Absolute love all the tracks. Jessica, which was the Allman Brothers track, which is featured as the theme tune to Top Gear, is another one of my favorites. Yeah, so number 10 is Into the Light. At number 9, I have Hank Plays Holly, which is Hank playing the songs of Buddy Holly, instrumental versions of the songs of one of his favourite singers, Buddy Holly. And I know that Buddy Holly was a great influence on Cliff and the Shadows when they first started, and a big influence on Hank. And yeah, I absolutely love all the tracks on this album. Standout tracks from me are Peggy Sue. I love Well Alright. I love Heartbeat, which features backing vocals by Cliff. Um, That'll Be the Day, Brown Eye Dancing Man, Oh Boy, Peggy Sue Got Married. Absolutely fantastic album, and it's at my number 9. Number 8 is probably going to be a shock to some people, and it's not a full Hank Marvin solo album because it features one or two Shadows tracks as well. But I absolutely play this album all the time, so I had to include it in my top 10 favorite Hank albums. And it's Hank Marvin and the Shadows play the music of Angelo Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice. Absolutely love every single track on this album. I wouldn't be a big musicals fan, but I absolutely love some of these tracks. The way Hank plays them, especially the Phantom of the Opera, is just sounds absolutely sensational. Memory, of course, with the Shadows. Starlight Express, the music of the night. One Night in Bangkok and Variations is probably a big highlight as well on this album for me. Yeah, so it's at number 8 is Hank Marvin and the Shadows play Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice. So number 7, I have Heartbeat. And yeah, I absolutely love this album. Cliff features on this album. He does backing vocals on I think about 5 of the tracks. Some great tracks. He sings backing vocals on the title song Heartbeat, which again is a Buddy Holly cover. Um, Oxygen actually sounds absolutely amazing. Mrs. Robinson, Space Oddity, I Will Always Love You with background vocals by Cliff Richard. The Crying Game. There's a great version of Wonderful Land, the Shadows' number one hit, with Hank and Mark Knopfler. And yeah, Wichita Lineman, Live and Let Die, Crying. This is absolutely fantastic album, and it's at my number 7. So number 6 for me is Hank, which when this was released, it was meant to be a kind of summer album, and all the songs are kind of influenced by have a summer theme. I absolutely love the opening track is A Taste of Honey, which is a really, really old song, and Hank puts his own stamp on it, and it sounds absolutely fantastic. My favourite track on this album is Hank's version of Sealed with a Kiss, which he did do another instrumental version of this with the Shadows, I think on the Reflections album. But I prefer this version with Hank playing the solo Sealed with a Kiss. Absolutely beautiful. Another highlight on this album would be Summer Guitar, which Hank wrote, I think, with Ben Marvin, his son. We just an absolutely fantastic track. Absolutely love all the songs on this album. Hank. So number five is an album I played to death when it first came out, and there's certain tracks I just played over and over again. I absolutely love this album. It's called Marvin at the Movies. Absolutely brilliant. Highlights on this album: A Hard Day's Night, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. Fantastic. A really fast version of Windmills of Your Mind, which Hank features on his very first debut album, and he done a slow version on that album. But this is a cracking fast version of that song. Absolutely love it. Another highlight for me would be the James Bond medley. I absolutely love that. That's probably the track I played over and over again. It's a James Bond medley. It features the Bond theme, from Russia with Love, You Only Live Twice, on Her Majesty's Secret Service. Absolutely love this album, and yeah, so it's number five. So number four is Hank Plays Cliff. Um, a lot of people here will know that I'm a huge Cliff Richard fan. This just a little dream come true for me, like Hank playing um, Cliff Richard songs, and some of the songs he actually featured on the original tracks as well. But these are mostly just instrumental. Cliff does actually feature on a couple of them doing backing vocals, and of course he features lead vocals on Move It, which was the first time we got Cliff singing the second verse of that song. Because when Cliff originally recorded Move It, it was just one verse, chorus, back doing the first verse again, chorus again, and finished. But 40 odd years later, Ian Samuel wrote Move It, wrote a second verse, and this was the first time we were introduced to that second verse on this album, Hank Plays Cliff. Other tracks that I absolutely love. He does a great version of Carrie. He does a great version of We Don't Talk Anymore, Wire for Sound. The 12th and Never is completely different to the Cliff version. It's a lot faster. Devil Woman is fantastic as well, and also features Hank's daughter Talia actually sings backing vocals on that one as well. This was an album I went to live in Belgium for a couple of months back in 1996 when I was really young, on one of them student exchange things, and with me I only brought two albums. I brought two cassettes, and one was Songs from Heathcliff with Cliff Richard and Hank Plays Cliff. Both on cassette, and that was the only two cassettes I had for 3 months over in Belgium. So I played both albums to death, and I absolutely love both albums. And this means a lot to me, this album. So that's why it's a number four. Number three is Guitar Player. This is a great album. This is Hank playing acoustic guitar as nobody else can play as good as Hank Marvin, as far as I'm concerned. It's actually cracking album. Hotel California is absolutely fantastic. There's some great songs. One of the highlights for me is a track called A Tall Dark Stranger, which is, I think it's kind of piss take on Irish kind of, which I am Irish, which kind of Irish sayings, a tall dark stranger, which, so I absolutely love this track. It's probably the fastest track on the album, and Hank has said in interviews that it's not as hard to play as it might sound, but we'll take your word for that, Hank. So yeah, number three is Guitar Player, absolute cracking album. So number two was the last album we got from Hank a couple of years ago. Last year, the year before, was in 2017, actually, 3 years already. And it's Without a Word. Brilliant album. Absolutely fantastic. I love this album. I was going to say is my favorite album of all time, of all Hank's solo albums. It's definitely the most recent one. My favorite of all his recent albums. Um, Guitar Man just missed the top 10. That'd be number 11. But I was just on just on 10 for this top 10. But this is a cracking album. I love every single track. I was very excited to hear Peter Gunn, which is a Dwayne Eddy classic, and I couldn't wait for to hear Hank's version of that. And I dare to say I actually prefer to Dwayne Eddy version. I love What a Wonderful World. I love his version of America from West Side Story. I love Alfie. Alfie is just absolutely beautiful. Russian Doll, fantastic, and Team from Patriot. It's just absolutely beautiful. So like I don't think there's a bad track on this album. I absolutely love every single track on it. So it's a number 2, without a word. So number 1 for me, probably no shock to a lot of people, because I consider this Hank's best solo effort, and it's his first ever album, his debut album, I think from 1969, and it's entitled Hank Marvin. And I absolutely love every single track on this album. It's very late 60s, early 70s sound to it, but I absolutely love it. Another album which I didn't feature in the top 10, Guitar Signet. I don't really like that album, I have to admit. I'm not crazy about that album. I know a lot of Shadows fans and a lot of Hank fans love that album. And I've never been into that album. I just like the nice sound of the Fender Strat, and I like him playing acoustic guitar, but I didn't like the kind of experimentation that he was going down with, like, what was it, the Tokyo Nights, and there's a couple of tracks like that I wasn't crazy about. But this album I absolutely love. Love everything on the album, especially This Guy's in Love. Windmills of Your Mind Again, just a fantastic track. But probably the highlight of this album, probably the best track on the album, is Sasha, which was written by the fabulous Jerry Lordan. Absolutely love it. This is the CD version with 10 bonus tracks, and they're just 10 absolute cracking versions. I recommend any Hank Marvin fan should actually seek this album out, because there's some cracking bonus tracks on this album, especially Evening Comes, which was a track that Cliff and the Shadows featured in a pantomime, and there's an absolutely beautiful solo version, instrumental of it on this album, as a bonus track. And of course Midnight Cowboy is just a fantastic Hank Marvin single from around that time. So that's my number 1, Hank Marvin. So that's my top 10, and again I just want to say happy birthday to Hank. I know he doesn't celebrate birthdays, but I still feel like it's worth celebrating. And yeah, so that's my top 10. I'm sure you won't agree with some of them. I'm sure you might agree with some of them, but if you want to leave your thoughts below, like, I'd love to hear them. And so thank you very much.